Hey guys, sorry for the delay on this week, but I had some stuff I needed to take care of, but I'm back. We're going to talk today about axonometrics, so let's go. So last week we concluded what I consider the fundamental drawings of architecture. Now, we're going to start working on drawings that are a combination or evolution of these drawings. These drawings try to showcase an aspect of the project that perhaps is difficult to show on a conventional drawing, or they are used because they are more dynamic and attractive. My personal favorite of these drawings are the axonometric. So, let's first talk about what an axonometric is. The way I understand it, an axonometric is a perspective drawing, where all the elements on an axis are parallel. On a perspective drawing, you have at least one of the axes that is not parallel. Parallel. On one point perspective, the y-axis is pointing to the point horizon. On 2-point perspective, the y and x-axis point to the 2-point horizons. And I bet you can guess what a 3-point perspective drawing does. This doesn't happen in axonometric. For this reason, there is no point horizon, because the lines never meet. Thus, they are parallel. Making an axonometric drawing projection is very easy. First, you start with a straight horizontal line. Then you draw a perpendicular vertical line. This is your z-axis. Now, proceed to draw 2 lines, one on each side of the vertical line and on top of the horizontal line. And that's it. All the vertical lines of the models have to be parallel to the vertical line, and all the horizontal lines have to follow your 2 diagonal lines. Now, you probably have noticed that some axonometric projections look better than the others. This is due to the angle of your diagonal lines. Depending on these angles, you have different types of axonometric projections. The most common is isometric. This one has both angles at 30 degrees, making the model feel very symmetrical and well balanced. So why do we use these drawings? Well, as I said before, the purpose of these drawings are to showcase an aspect of your design that is not so easily understandable otherwise, or to show them on a more dynamic way. But there is a specific reason that only applies to axonometric. Axonometric functions as a stone to the saying, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, except that it kills up to 4 birds. Let's look at my drawing for example. What can you see? Well, you can see a partial side plan, a partial elevation, a partial top plan, and a partial perspective. With this drawing, I can partially showcase 4 conventional drawings. Now, notice how I said partially like 10 times. That is because this is not a complete substitute, it's more like a summary of these drawings all packed into one. You see how on an essay paper you should always include your thesis statement, sort of like a summary of your paper comprised on a sentence? An axonometric is a thesis statement of your presentation drawings. You still need to do the whole paper, your conventional drawings, but it's good to also have a thesis statement. Now, let's say that you have come up with a nice design you want to show tomorrow, but you don't have much time to produce like 10 drawings, and you want to sleep that night, which is important. You should always sleep, always. Well, a simple axonometric drawing along with a floor plan can just do the trick. It is not a complete presentation, of course, but it may be enough to encase your design project. But what if you're preparing a final presentation? Let's say you do produce plans, elevations, sections, and perspective drawings. What use does an axonometric have here? Doesn't it become sort of redundant? In a way, yes, but all drawings are somewhat redundant in a sense that they're all showing the same building, even though axonometrics are a little more redundant than the others. But no, because axonometrics are especially good for one thing in the context of a full presentation: diagrams. Because of the way this drawing is composed, you have so much visibility over your project and its context. This is perfect to present some of the main factors that inform your designs, such as site constraints, traffic, ambient, but also to explain your building on a broad way. I might do a separate video talking only about diagrams later on, But basically, with diagrams, you want to keep them as simple as possible. Always label what you're trying to portray, and make sure you don't overwhelm the page. Remember that people need to see the actual building and the context. Also, axonometrics look cool. They just do. So use them to spark interest on your presentation. With all of this, let me show you how I personally create my axonometrics, not as a diagram, but an actual presentation drawing. First, make sure you let your project stand out. You're probably going to find yourself on a busy space with plenty of things going on in the context, so make sure people don't have to look for your project. There are many ways of doing this. Maybe you do the context all in white and your project in color, and maybe a simple outline of the project is just enough. Play around with the line weight, colors, and opacity to come up with a clear drawing. Also, and this is sort of obvious, but put your project in the middle of your canvas. Second, add your shadows. Because this is not a perspective, sometimes your building may look one on top of the other, and it can be disorienting. If you add shadows, you add so much depth and three-dimensionality to your project. Third, don't focus too much on the angles of your axis. Focus on your project looking good. Now, as I said before, isometric is usually the go-to axonometric projection drawing, because it is more pleasing to see. At the same time, don't be shy of changing the angles in order to make your project more understandable. No one is going to go with a hard rule and check on the angles of your axis. As long as they look good, you will be fine. Finally, have fun with it. Explore ways you can make your axonometric pop out. Add people, vegetation, cars, all you want. Not to distract from your project, but to inform your project. If, for example, your project takes place on a very busy street, then adding cars makes sense because that informs your design. Don't just put things because they only look cool, but also have a reason behind it. Otherwise, our drawings can become very distracting. So in conclusion, axonometrics are a really good way for showing the overall design of your project. There are, of course, many types of axonometrics, but we will talk about them later on. And that is all for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know exactly when my next video is going to come. Thank you all, and stay safe.